That may be, my lord, but since I am neither king nor queen nor minister, he is not my enemy, and I cannot accept your offer. This, then, is what you call devotion. I congratulate you. Your devotion does not commit you too far, Monsieur de Rochefort. And then, my lord, continued Rochefort, you understand that to emerge from the Bastille in order to enter Vincennes is only to change one's prison. Say at once that you are on the side of Monsieur de Beaufort. That will be the most sincere line of conduct. Said Mazarin, my lord, I have been so long shut up that I am only of one party. I am for fresh air. Employ me in any other way, employ me even actively, but let it be on the high roads. My dear Monsieur de Rochefort, Mazarin replied in a tone of raillery, you think yourself still a young man, your spirit is that of the phoenix, but your strength fails you. Believe me, you ought now to take a rest here. You decide, then, nothing about me. My lord, on the contrary, I have come to a decision. Bernouin came into the room. Call an officer of justice, he said, and stay close to me. He added, in a low tone. The officer entered. Mazarin wrote a few words, which he gave to this man, then he bowed. Adieu, Monsieur de Rochefort, he said. Rochefort bent low. I see, my lord, I am to be taken back to the Bastille. You are sagacious. I shall return thither, my lord, but it is a mistake on your part not to employ me. You, the friend of my greatest foes. Don't suppose that you are the only person who can serve me. Monsieur de Rochefort, I shall find many men as able as you are. I wish you may. My lord, replied de Rochefort. He was then reconducted by the little staircase, instead of passing through the antechamber where D'Artagnan was waiting. In the courtyard the carriage and the 4 musketeers were ready, but he looked around in vain for his friend. Ah, he muttered to himself, this changes the situation, and if there is still a crowd of people in the streets we will try to show Mazarin that we are still, thank God, good for something else than keeping guard over a prisoner. And he jumped into the carriage with the alacrity of a man of 25. Chapter IV. Anne of Austria at the age of 46. When left alone with Bernouin, Mazarin was for some minutes lost in thought. He had gained much information, but not enough. Mazarin was a cheat at the card table. This is a detail preserved to us by Brienne. He called it using his advantages. He now determined not to begin the game with D'Artagnan till he knew completely all his adversary's cards. "My lord, have you any commands?" asked Bernouin. "Yes, yes," replied Mazarin. "Light me, I am going to the queen." Bernouin took up a candlestick and led the way. There was a secret communication between the cardinal's apartments and those of the queen, and through this corridor Mazarin passed whenever he wished to visit Anne of Austria. This secret passage is still to be seen in the Palais Royal. In the bedroom in which this passage ended, Bernouin encountered Madame de Beauvais, like himself entrusted with the secret of these subterranean love affairs, and Madame de Beauvais undertook to prepare Anne of Austria, who was in her oratory with the young king, Louis XIV, to receive the cardinal. Anne, reclining in a large easy chair, her head supported by her hand, her elbow resting on a table, was looking at her son, who was turning over the leaves of a large book filled with pictures. This celebrated woman fully understood the art of being dull with dignity. It was her practice to pass hours either in her oratory or in her room, without either reading or praying. When Madame de Beauvais appeared at the door and announced the cardinal, the child, who had been absorbed in the pages of Quintus Curtius, enlivened as they were by engravings of Alexander's feats of arms, frowned and looked at his mother. "Why," he said, "does he enter without first asking for an audience?" and coloured slightly. "The prime minister," she said, is obliged in these unsettled days to inform the Queen of all that is happening from time to time, without exciting the curiosity or remarks of the court. But Richelieu never came in this manner. Said the pertinacious boy, "How can you remember what Monsieur de Richelieu did? You were too young to know about such things." "I do not remember what he did, but I have inquired, and I have been told all about it." "And who told you about it?" asked Anne of Austria, with a movement of impatience. "I know that I ought never to name the persons who answer my questions," answered the child, "for if I do I shall learn nothing further." At this very moment Mazarin entered. The king rose immediately, took his book, closed it, and went to lay it down on the table, near which he continued standing, in order that Mazarin might be obliged to stand also. Mazarin contemplated these proceedings with a thoughtful glance. They explained what had occurred that evening. He bowed respectfully to the king, who gave him a somewhat cavalier reception, but a look from his mother reproved him for the hatred which, from his infancy, Louis XIV had entertained toward Mazarin, and he endeavoured to receive the minister's homage with civility.